Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday. Welcome to the Health Coach Tip Tuesday show. If you are ready to dive in, drop the word gut into the chat, and we are going to send you an invite for our monthly webinar, Antigens, Pathogens, and Restoring a Healthy Gut. That is going to be tomorrow at 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. So drop the word gut into the chat so you can grab that invite. If you are interested in becoming a functional health coach, this is going to be an awesome webinar for you to attend. So welcome to the Health Coach Tip Tuesday show, where every week we share tips, tools, and resources for health coaches and professionals so that you can confidently solve your clients' health issues and grow your career as a health coach or professional. I am your co-host, FDN Director of Course Enrollment, Piper Gibson. And so many of you know the man next to me. This is Reed Davis, founder of FDN, and he is here to share his deep knowledge and expertise with us today. Hey, Reed, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. How's
Awesome.
everybody else doing?
Good, good. If you guys have questions for Reed, make sure to drop them in the chat as well. He loves to get to your questions every week. If you're ready, Reed, let's get the show on the road. And we are going to talk to our guest today about clinical and functional aspects of GI pathogen screenings. So I would love to get back to the basics. I know some people who are joining us may not be familiar with what the word functional means. So what does functional mean?
Well, in our world, it means that it's working. So it's functional. So it's no good to have eyeballs if they're not functional. And it just means that they work. It's not merely an absence of disease, but it means that they're doing a good job with whatever they were intended to do. So mostly in our world, we think of cells. Are cells functional? Because you have to respect and consider that there's an innate intelligence within each cell. Do you have to teach a cell what its job is? No, it already knows what its job is. Where's that come from? Well, it comes from an innate intelligence. It's just there already. And so it means it's doing that. That cell, it could be part of a tissue. It could be part of an organ, part of a system overall. It's just part of the entire organism. So it's very meaningful. It's a very meaningful world or word, and indicates that we're working with and respecting the innate intelligence of the body, how the body really works, its function. Now you might ask, well, what's our function? But that's a whole different story. But it's the innate desire for equilibrium and balance or homeostasis within every cell, tissue, organ, and system.
And so FDNs, or as FDNs, we are really looking to help our clients gain optimal function, right?
Yes, we are. That's the whole job there.
Let's dig a little bit into what does clinical mean, because clinical sounds so scientific. So what does the word clinical mean to the health coaches?
It sounds so clinical.
Like that's right. It sounds so clinical.
Yeah. Well, and it is, and I wish there was a better word. I wish there was another word, especially since the idea of FDN is mostly subclinical. So clinical is a clinical presentation, for instance. So using it in that context, what was her clinical presentation? I mean, how did she show, what were her symptoms when he showed up to the clinic? And so, they might be that she had complaints, but nothing was wrong with her in terms of test results. So raise your hand or say something if you've ever heard, that your test results were normal. So we see people going to physicians all the time, and they do blood work, standard blood work, and it's like, well, everything looks normal. So there's a mismatch there. That's why we say we work at the subclinical. In other words, not clinical yet. There's patterns that exist within the normal ranges, the quote unquote reference ranges, that indicate a problem. So, and remember that all these markers that you might look at in blood work or saliva or urine or stool even, they're not staying in one place. It's a moving target. So, let's just pretend, I don't know if you can see this, but here's the reference range that a physician is looking for. And if you're within that range anywhere, you'd be considered normal or nothing wrong with you yet. Let's say your number was right here. Which way is it going? Is it headed down to where it's going to be a problem once it gets over this line? Or is it headed up to where it'd be a problem when it goes over the next line? You feel me on that? So clinical is a word that we don't, we use it all the time. Clinical nutrition. That would be, you're practicing in a clinic and you're applying, nutrition to solve a certain problem. And, we need a better word, to tell you the truth. I hope that doesn't throw a wrench in your next question.
So everybody that is joining us, if you are just joining us live, or even if you're watching the replay, make sure to drop the word gut into the chat, and we are going to send you the invite for tomorrow's fantastic webinar. And like Reed was saying, if you have ever been told that maybe your lab work is absolutely normal, raise your hand. We would love to see out there and chat with you guys about what is going on. Reed, so when health coaches, FDNs, are addressing functional and clinical aspects of GI pathogen screenings, what exactly are we looking for?
Well, we're looking for a number of things. Pathogens are just something from the outside world that gets inside you and causes problems. So pathogenic. A lot of these things are live microorganisms. So they could be bacteria, viruses. They could be yeasts, like fungi, things like that, or even parasites. Little animals. I picture them like little tiny creepy crawlers, So parasites, bacteria, funguses, viruses, pathogens. We're looking for GI pathogens. That means they're living inside the gastrointestinal tract. Mostly we look at them through stool. And there's various methods of detection. There's antigen testing. There's DNA testing. There's microscopy. You could use a microscope even and see some of these things. There's trichrome staining. There's also culturing. You could put some of that stool into a petri dish and see what kind of fuzz grows on it. So there's lots of ways to look for pathogens. But let's say you found one. Look, I found one. Is that the problem? Don't pat yourself on the back real hard, because you may eliminate that pathogenic little intruder who has taken up space where he or it does not belong. But getting rid of it may not solve other person's problems. Matter of fact, you have to ask the question, well, why did they have these pathogens? Is it something really virulent or dangerous that came along and it's just overtaken that body, something like that? Well, most likely not. Most of the cases we see are cases where those bugs are just opportunistic. In other words, they're coming along and there's an already compromised person. They already have some kind of dysbiosis or gut dysfunction. They could have food sensitivities. They could have a lot of things going on structurally within the gut, like including the dysbiosis. Number one, not enough good friendly flora to sort of chase away or overwhelm that bug. So that bug gets a little foothold and starts to be an overgrowth problem. It can end up being pretty serious in terms of biofilms and even mutation. And it can really stink up the place, cause a lot of problems. But which came first, the host, unhealthy host, and then the bug, or was it the bug? Well, you can argue that all day long. It's probably a 150-year-old argument since germs were discovered. So, what are we looking for? Parasites, bacteria, fungus, and viruses. But we're also going to look at intestinal integrity, mucosal barrier structure. We're going to look for hyperpermeability. We're going to look for other things that would be preventing a person from healing. Because again, if you just say to yourself, a person has certain symptoms, and you go, well, it sounds like a parasite, and then you run a parasite. test, and you oh, look, I found your problem. Likely not. You found one contributor to chaos, and maybe even just one result of metabolic chaos. So, you have to take a very comprehensive approach, not just kill bugs.
Right. So when it comes to testing, what kinds of tests are available for FDNs to really kind of explore and look at what's going on within the GI pathogens?
Well, as I was saying, you can look for the body's response to that critter. The antigen tests. There's antibodies that would elevate to a specific antigen, like a bug. Even just the juices from bugs can be tested. It's really quite fascinating how much information you can get from the antigen testing. Other tests specialize in the DNA, like they're just looking for DNA. And they find DNA, and it's very specific to certain pathogens. Again, there's the bacteria. Some of it's friendly, some of it's not. There's parasites. There's worms, protozoa. There's just all kinds of things that you can find the DNA of. It's not your DNA, that I guarantee you. So you're full of DNA that's someone else's when it comes to these critters. So there's the antigen testing. Your body's going, ugh, wow, I don't like that stuff. These antibodies, IgA, IgM, IgG, and so on. And then you can actually see the DNA of the bug. And then there's other tests, like I mentioned, the culturing. You can see what kind of fuzz grows. There's microscopy. You can use a microscope. And this is where I like the human interaction. So a human being involved instead of just machinery. They can see things and identify it. But another thing to consider is maybe, especially with the DNA testing, does its mere presence, oh, look, it's there. There's some DNA that's not yours. Does that mean it's causing all your problems? Or let me ask a better question. To what degree is it causing your problems is the real question. Because a lot of times it could be there and your body can handle it. The body is adapted to, capable of handling a certain level of bugs, let's say, other people's DNA, other creatures' DNA. So you got to take these. I run at least 3 labs to determine gut health, not one.
So what are some important labs to run when it comes to looking at gut health, just besides the pathogen screenings?
Well, there's always looking for just the dysbiosis that might be there, normal flora versus friendly flora. There's the hydrogen and methane gas testing. You can do a challenge, see how well you're breaking down, carbohydrates. You might call that a SIBO test, breath test. There's also other ways you can challenge and collect urine and see what's going on in the urine. You can, then you can do the antibody testing for, immune reactions to severe dysbiosis or pathogens and other things going on. So there's a number of ways to skin that cat. Intestinal permeability, dysbiosis, and then you can look for these immune markers, zonulin, that kind of thing, that would say, hey, you probably have leaky gut. And it's very interesting. We actually make lessons about this, believe it or not.
Well, that's going to be my next question, Reed. What makes FDN a unique training that helps to solve this kind of problem?
Well, the number one most unique thing about it is it's the only course that I teach. And I teach based on experience. I spent all those years in the lab. I ran thousands of labs and thousands of people. And I had great mentoring, and there's really smart people at the labs, but some of those people at labs, they aren't really clinicians. There's that word again. They don't work in office face to face with Mrs. Smith and Mr. Jones and their kids and their parents and everybody like that. So the one thing about the FDN training is that you can't hardly find a person with that much experience who's really run the thousands and thousands of labs. And then, it just fills you full of experience of what to look out for, the little intuitive things. Now, there's other training that's based on research and development where they're really just working with a small cohort, trying to prove that their lab is really cool. So that's another way to do it. And there's lots of training out there that they ran a lab on 100 people or 500 people, and that's still different than running multiple labs on 10,000 people. And that's my background experience. So that's one thing. The other thing is the mentality, the state of mind, the point of view. I'm not looking to treat the paper. I'm dealing with a person. Never treat the test results. I always educate that person how they can self-treat is the true way to put it. It said, don't treat the paper, treat the person. Well, I don't even treat the person. I educate them so they can self-manage, self-treat, and take care of themselves and their families, and they can share that love wherever the hell they want, but at least live a certain way. And that's another thing about the FDN course is that we teach you to walk the talk. So you're going to run the labs on yourself, and you're going to run labs or at least do mock-ups on trial clients, and you're going to go through it. The amount of mentoring is unmatched. There's no other course with as much mentoring as we do. And that means live one-on-one sessions, going over your own test results and going over sample clients that we give you. We give you the person, their history, their everything about them, their lab test results. And then we have you create protocols for that person, interpretations, clinical correlation, and protocols. And then lastly, that thing about clinical correlation, it's really a skill. It takes some time to develop, but you got to at least start somewhere. And, what I teach is how to correlate the test results with the person. And again, this is so you don't treat the paper, but it's another angle, way of looking at that. So those are a few things. It's also reasonably priced. It's it's a rolling start. You can start today. You don't have to wait for the next session to start these kind of things. It has an amazing number of bonuses, just stuff I just throw in there because I'm that way. We also have one of the most robust alumni. So FDNs, they're not people who just, I took that course years ago. No, they say, I'm an FDN. I'm proud to be an FDN. That's the flag I plant, and the rules I live by, so to speak, or at least the rules. Yeah, the rules you live by because you have to walk the talk, and the rules as far as how you deal with your clients and patients, if you will, and things like that. I think we're the only course that gives you access to testing. So not only do I teach you what labs to use, how to correlate it with the person, and what protocols are likely to work the best, so you can educate them, but also just if you're in the United States, especially, you can run the labs through my program, through the FDN Medical Director Program. Matter of fact, that was a model. That's to all of the direct-to-consumer lab programs that are operating now. When I started the FDN course, there was none, and now there's 40. So the problem with that is that anyone can run labs these days, but do they know what they're really looking at? And are they just learning to treat the paper, or are they going to actually help a person live themselves into a better way?
That is true, because as an FDN, I do see people go out and test themselves, and then they have these results and they have zero idea what to do with them, how it correlates with their symptoms and how they're feeling. And so then they're going to come to you as an FDN once they've done that. So, that is one of the most awesome things about the FDN program, is being able to have access to those direct-to-consumer labs for the clients, but then to have the mentorship behind it. So part of the medical director program gives you the chance to contact the clinical directors and really get some insight into what those lab results are saying. So
Yeah,
that's
I mean, we could go on about that, but you won't find a better bargain, guarantee it.
absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Well, Reed, we have come to that time where I'm going to ask you that famous question. Do you have one or two things? Yep, that question. Do you have one or two takeaways that you would like to share with the people watching today?
Is going outside every day, making sure, because you know I tend to work a lot. I start at my desk a lot of days at 4, 5 o'clock, and I found that going outside in bare feet and getting my feet into the earth and meditating, you know, and really just trying to let my mind clear a lot, so that the subconscious, you know, and you start training that, so that, because it brings the universe to you, and you know what you think about you are. I do that. I listened a lot to Sadhguru and Joe Dispenza and these kind of things. It's about you create your own world, like you literally create it. I'll tell you a quick story to seal the deal on that. Can I?
Yes, please share. That's everybody loves to dig into Reed's brain. So yes, share.
There's this lovely woman. She's on the mature side, lovely lady, and she's having this dream. And so in her dream, this real hunk of a man starts coming towards her, you know, and she's getting all excited and heart's beating faster, and you know, and then he gets close enough she could hear his breath, you know, and then finally he's right up there where she can feel his breath upon her, and she's so excited. She goes, well, what are you gonna do? he goes hey lady, it's your dream. And so that's what the it's your dream, you know, you got to dictate what you want to happen in it.
That is a fantastic takeaway. That's great, Reed. I love it. I love it. I love it. So thank you for that. And you're right. You have to make your own world. If you guys are watching the replay, you're just joining us, make sure to drop the word gut into the chat. We are going to send you a link and invitation to join the webinar tomorrow, Antigens, Pathogens, and Restoring a Healthy Gut, tomorrow at 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. And you are going to learn about the different types of internal hidden stressors, how gut bugs contribute to metabolic chaos, why gut bugs and SIBO are a result of metabolic chaos. And then, of course, a little bit more about what Reed and I talked about today, the clinical and functional aspects of GI pathogen screenings. So make sure to drop the word gut so we can send you that link. Thank you, Reed, for joining me, and thank you for sharing your insights. As always, it's been fantastic. We'll be here next time, same place, next week. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us today.